Hello, guys. Hi, this is Ganesh Nayak. I help finance professionals and students to excel in their career and become a better version of themselves. And I also help students preparing for FRM and CFA exam. We have with us one of our students. She has been able to clear FRM Level 2 in May 2023 attempt. She's going to be talking about her journey of preparation and how she was able to manage all the challenges and clear the exam in her first attempt. So we're going to be talking about this to Shilpa. Shilpa, first of all, thank you very much for taking out time and talking to us.
My
And
pleasure.
if you can give us a quick brief about when did you clear level one? What was your broader background when then?
Okay, so thank you so much for having me here, Ganesh. So I cleared my level one exam last year in May 22. I had
Okay.
registered for the online sessions with you, and they were very good when I did that last year. But then, because of my time constraints this year, I thought of going with the video sessions, the recorded ones this year, so that I can do it at my pace. But last year, those online sessions also really helped with my level one preparation.
And overall, you have roughly 20 years of experience, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when did you started your level two prep? Which month?
Level two, I started in January this year.
January 2023. Okay. And when you started, you must have seen the books. So around 100 chapters. So what was the first thought? कि कैसे होगा? How is it going to happen?
Okay, so frankly, last year when I had given my level one exam, I had thought if I don't clear it, I'm not going to try again. So,
Okay.
but once you clear the exam, then you're like, okay, now you're like, you have come halfway now. There's no point if you don't do the level two, because there's no point that you clear the level one and then you're not achieved anything at the end. So
Right.
I thought, okay, it did look very complicated, but then I figured that since I could do level one and I could clear it, so there was this extra confidence that I got after clearing that. So I thought if I could
Mhm.
study at that time and clear it, I can even do that now. So that's what
Okay.
helped.
Okay. Perfect. And then in which order did we started the preparation? The book order.
Yeah, I had taken guidance from you on that. So you had recommended going with market risk first and then credit risk. Then I went to liquidity risk or investment management, one of the two. Then the
Mhm.
current issues. I left the operational risk almost to the end because I thought I will, like you had suggested, just take one chapter and read every day. But I could not do that before April. So by
Mhm.
March end, I could finish one round of everything except operational risk. So that's what I had done. But when I started off with my second round of
And
revision in April, I realized that I don't remember
mhm.
anything. But I mean, because it felt like as if, like, there were some chapters. I'm like, did I even go through these? I mean, have I even looked at it once? I mean, that was a doubt that was coming in my head. But I think that's pretty normal because you get that, I think. But
Yeah. Overall,
yes,
the size of the topic is so huge. But
yeah.
the when you were preparing, so every day, first of all, how much time you were dedicating towards preparation from January?
I think the momentum takes a little bit time to build up. So when I started off in January, since now the best part is because since we have given level one, right, we know how much studies needs to be done and how you need to pace, because level one we do a lot of mistakes because you later realize that. So here I was very focused on going chapter wise. I had built up a plan. So when I started with market risk, I'm like, next 2 weeks or 3 weeks I need to finish this. So I was like, focused on doing chapter by chapter, and then somehow I had a more detailed plan this time as compared to last time. So I was like, if
Okay.
I follow a particular plan, I will be able to do it. If I just, don't make a proper timetable to do this, it will not happen because it is vast. So I had to
Mhm.
kind of make a plan. So I had overall, like for the next 6 7 weeks, I was like, okay, 2 weeks for market risk, 2 weeks for credit risk, and probably a week for investment management. So I had like broken it down like that. Even for first
Okay.
reading, I was like, I need to push myself like that. Every day, I need to do at least one or one and a half chapters. That was my focus initially.
Okay.
So yeah, there were few days when I could not do it. I mean, it's normal for everyone, because you have challenges in office, you don't feel like studying, you have vacation, you have birthdays, so like it's standard for everyone, so
Right, right.
you're not able to follow the entire plan to the T. But more or less, if I could not do it on the weekdays, I would push myself on the weekends to cover up if anything is left from that week. I would push to at least, I mean, like during the weekdays, if I studied around 2 to 3 hours initially, like in the morning time,
Mhm.
because if my office generally starts around after 11, so I would make sure that I get up by 5 or 6 and I study for at least 2 to 3 hours in the morning. And
Okay,
then um, if I get time at the end of the day in the night, I would open the book, but then it would put me off to sleep. So, but that did not
okay,
help reading in the night. But morning, it definitely helped. So I was like charged up to read in the morning. And
okay.
but if I could not complete something in the weekday, I was not stressing over it, because I'm like, okay, there's still time. Let us not stress over it. I mean, you can put in more efforts on the weekends, because you can't put
Mhm.
everything to a pause. Your life, other things also have to go on.
Yes,
So
yes.
so so you have to somehow manage your time very effectively. So I was
Mhm.
pushing to complete the remaining tasks over the weekend, but I still tried to cover it in one week. I mean, if something is missing, try to complete it over the Saturday or Sunday. I reduced my socializing a lot. I said, all my friends, I would not be available for next 3 or 4 months, because this is my priority right now and I need to finish it. And I had made up in my mind that I don't want to give it again. I can't put in so much of efforts again, because this requires a lot of dedication and effort. And I'm like, this is my one go. I'm going to work on it and clear it. So I was very
Got it.
motivated on that from the start, and I had put a lot of these motivational things on my desk on so that I have to push myself. I also, when you
Okay.
register for the exam date, right, it helps a lot because it creates a pressure
Mhm.
inside you. So
Right.
in my level one also I took the last date, and here also I took the last date possible. I'm like, you probably get extra time to study, right? So I'd put the date
Right.
also on my dashboard in front. So I'm like, so that
Mhm.
you're constantly reminded that your exam date is coming and you have to study. But yeah,
Right.
so yeah.
Okay. Now, when you're preparing for the exam, so you're watching the video, reading the textbook, and what about question bank?
So question bank, I left it for my third reading. What I
Okay.
did was not third, sorry, second reading. What I did was, after I finished the first reading by March end, so when in April I started my second reading. So at that time, every time I finished one chapter, like again, I started with the same sequence like how I did for the first six
Okay.
books. I started off with market risk. So what I did was, then I finished one chapter, then I would go into the question bank that you had shared, go and solve
Mhm.
all the questions over there chapter wise. And so
Okay.
probably that is why the second one, it took more time, because you're doing all the questions, you're reviewing your answers, you're going back. So
Right.
yeah, so but I think I think we should not do this question bank mostly in the first round, because you're just trying to understand the whole concepts at a high level.
That's correct.
Second time when you start doing it in detail, you try to understand then, and then when you do the question bank, it helps to relate with the chapter.
That's correct. It's kind of a revision, and also you have a pressure to solve the question bank. So you will go and revise the chapter once fully. So
Exactly.
when did when did your first round of solving got completed? Which month?
So I think by May first week or so, I think when I
Okay.
started my second round around April first week until May first week, I could complete everything second time with the question bank that you had shared. But I did only
Okay.
every chapter wise questions, and the sectional test that you had for um, every
Okay.
every I think
Book.
book you had a, section test, right?
Sectional test. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I did that. Except for operational risk, I think I had managed to complete everything 2 times by May first week. Operational risk was very huge and vast, and I somehow struggled with a little bit of time management over there, because I didn't realize that it will be too big. I mean, almost 24 chapters over there. So
Mhm.
I was doing it slowly, slowly. I mean, like, whenever I got time in the end of the day, I would start reading that. So I think except for that book, I did everything else pretty
Okay.
systematically. Yeah.
Okay. So sectional tests and chapter wise, no mock papers with and you didn't get time to solve mock papers. So
I
now
did
when
not
you
get. I was just waiting. I was just hoping if I had a week or two more, that's always the case. So I felt if I had 1 or 2 weeks more, I would have been able to do the mock test and everything. But then I did not want to stress myself over it at the last minute. I thought, whatever I have done, I was just telling it to myself that just be confident over whatever you have done till date, and you have done the question test. I mean, like you've done the sectional, you've done each chapter wise questions. So just,
right.
revise all that. So I was just banking on that.
Okay, perfect. And then when you went to the exam on the day when you started solving, how was it in terms of the time management, in terms of the difficulty level overall?
Okay. Frankly, time wise, I did not struggle overall because I had kept in my mind that I will, like, there are 80 questions. So I was in my mind, I was like, first 1 hour, I have to, like, 20 questions, it should be done. 2022, that
Okay.
was my target. So I was focusing on that. But what I noticed was like, okay, initially 2, 3 questions, everything was going on fine. Then then once suddenly you get a question, you know the formula, you are trying to solve it, but then whatever answer you're getting, none of the four matches. And then you're like, you start panicking. You're like, no, the formula is right, the question is right, I know it. Somehow you start feeling that why I'm not able to solve it. So I think two
Hmm.
or three places I struggled over there because somehow you know that you can do it, but you're not able to get it right. So somehow
Yes.
I and even when you move on to the next question, that's still coming back to your mind, that why I couldn't do that, why I couldn't do that. So that was happening to me for 2 or 3 questions, and I was then I had to kind of like push it away. I'm like, okay, I'll come back to that later. I marked them for review later, but somehow I knew that once you're done, you don't get too much time to come back, and whatever you think, it might not change the
Right.
answer for that. So for my
Right.
what I was thinking is like when I'm doing, I'll just put the correct answer possible, and in my mind I was sure that if I'm not able to come back to it later, at least just mark it and move on. I mean, like, if you are able to come back later, then do it. Otherwise, just mark whatever you think is the closest, and just
Okay.
in few of the questions I did waste time, and then I realized that this is not right way. If you're not getting it, just forget it. I mean, it's probably 1 or 2
Right.
questions, but don't waste too much time on it. Somehow I was not able to accept that I can't do it. So I was like, okay, leave it. Then, so I wasted
So
few.
out of 80, you were able to solve how many questions properly?
No, I did all 80. I did all
Acha.
80. I finished the entire paper. I did. Um, few of the questions like you know it so
Was
well that
slightly tough.
you
Was
know you
slightly
you know,
tough.
but they are longer. I mean, they're very long.
Acha. Okay. Okay.
So I can't remember which one was that. I'd
So
practiced
that's
it
okay.
so.
We got the idea. So basically, it might not make sense to go and solve the entire thing because it is going to be very time consuming to pick up those
Yeah.
questions. But how many theory and how many calculations questions were there?
Calculation would be around 20-25%.
Okay. And they were very tough or they were manageable.
They were lengthy, and like
Okay.
I did get the Merton's formula. So one of them I got that. That was the first question that I got, and I'm like, okay, nice. I remember the formula. So that's a good feeling you get, and
Mhm.
when the answer is also right. So that was there. A lot of it I was noting it down, but then they didn't let me take out the answer sheet outside the hall, so they don't allow that. But overall, I think they were lengthy. They were lengthy, and I think we need to be mindful of the time, because even if you put like 2 minutes or 3 minutes for a question, sometimes you're not able to get it in the first attempt.
Right.
Then you
Right.
waste time. So for some of them, for one of the questions, I remember I almost spent 10 minutes because I was like, I know it very well. I've practiced it so hard.
Mm.
I should be able to solve it. So, but I was not able to get the right answer. So I just selected something randomly and moved on. I'm like, okay. I thought I'll come back to it again later, but I did not get the time. So I got a little bit
Okay.
rushed, but then for few of the theory questions, then I kind of like, try to finish it off in one minute so that I can again adjust my time. But every hour I
Mm.
was keeping a check, like, I'm in control of the overall time, every 30 minutes, 1 hour, like 10 questions,
Okay.
20 questions, I'm within the time limit or not. If I'm wasting too much
Hmm.
time on something, I'll just mark it and move forward. So I was just trying to make sure that I don't miss out on any
Okay.
question. Yeah.
And with respect to the theory questions, were they very big in length, in size?
No, see, for most of them, what I felt is like, you're able to come down to two answers in the end, So it's like they are sometimes so vague because you know that two of them you can easily strike out, but then you always
Hmm.
get stuck between two of the choices. So
Right.
that's where the struggle is, that which one should you select. So um, and that just probably in some of them, with your question bank or whatever, some of them helps because you can then you know try to, your mindset also changes that way, that how you think, how you should approach when you have two choices, like how you approach
Right.
that. So probably that helped. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, when you came out of the exam, were you confident on clearing the exam?
No. I mean, I was like, because you don't know, right? Because sometimes the answers, like I said, like two of them, you're like, you don't know which one is right, which is not. I mean, even though you have
Right.
selected it. So that is what gives you a little bit of a jittery feeling after you finish it. And
And
people,
any number in your mind that I'll get out of 80 this much correct? Any number was there in your mind?
no, I thought at least I did 50% right. I had that confidence in at least 50%. Some of them I was very, I mean, I could make out. I mean, I know the answer. I was very confident, at least on 50%. The other 50%, I was not really confident because, like numericals, some of the numericals really brought me down because I was so confident of doing it right. And when the answers were not coming right, I was not very happy about it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I was not sure if I said the answer I selected is right or not. So that was also there. But I was
But
actually, after I came out, I was not sure. I was just telling my friends, I'm so glad it's done. I'm over with it. Let's see what happens. So I was not
okay.
very, yeah.
But any particular book you were worried about when the exam got over that, okay, this might be slightly challenging for me?
Yeah, credit risk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And now when the results are out, credit is slightly bad in
it
terms of
was bad.
performance, but
It was bad.
but
Yeah,
everywhere else it's 1-2-1-2. So
yeah,
it shows that every other book was perfectly done. Only credit risk, some questions you might have got wrong in the exam.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
what has been the reaction of people who have seen you for the last 2 years preparing for the exam?
Yeah, they were very happy and they were like, you were unnecessarily getting so tensed, and we knew you are going to clear because the efforts that you have put in to study. You never even studied this much during college. so, so, so now you have studied so much in the last 4 5 months, and I'm a single mother, so my child was watching me study, and he's like, "Mom, how can you study so much?" I mean, he was all the time like, "Why are you studying so much? What is the reason?" So I'm like, no, I mean, like, I want to achieve this. I want to, clear this. So it was, so he was
Right.
also very happy about it. And
Wonderful. Wonderful. And one quick question with respect to, see, when you started your FRN journey, I think so you're around with 19 years of experience.
yeah.
So what motivated you to start that journey?
See, I wanted to give this exam long back during after my college only. I mean, I wanted to do it around that time, but then due to some of the other reasons, sometimes you just push, right? I mean, you're working, you're
Mhm.
traveling, your marriage, kids, so everything. So it just somehow this thing got pushed back. So I think during the COVID time, it was again like when you had a little bit more time on your hands. So I started thinking that let me upskill myself, let me finish this what I had thought of doing long back. So I kind of
Okay.
thought, let me take it as a challenge. It was nothing like I had to do it for my office reasons. My office is going pretty fine. I mean, that way. I mean, this is definitely going to be a added advantage always. But I
Mhm.
wanted to do this for myself. That I had thought about it long back, and I pushed to. I wanted to achieve this.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. And then now, if I ask you if you can give some tips for students who are going to be preparing for FRM level 2, what would be those tips?
Yeah. Please follow sir's advice. So you should follow sir's advice because I think I've always troubled him whenever I've like in doubt. I've always messaged him. And one thing about you, sir, is that you always respond back and you're like, no, it's okay. And the way you motivate, it has always helped me because I always needed that little extra push always. And you have always provided that. So definitely follow his advice. And the chapters also you told me like focus on this and this, and so I was actually following your advice on how to follow the exact schedule and everything. And probably this time I was more like my schedule was more planned than when I did in the
Hmm.
level one. So this time I did more planning around it, like book
Okay.
wise, 1 2 3. I used to like note down every date I have done it, the first time, the second time, the third time. So I was like focused on doing it in a very planned way. I think when you plan it in a better way, it always helps. So it's very
Okay.
important to keep the goal and target, and then you back step, and then you kind of take how much time you have, break it down when you want to do the first revision, the second revision, when you want to focus on your mock test, everything. Just chalk it out and don't get worried if you miss out 1 or 2 days or 3 days. Try to see if you can push yourself over the weekend and work on that. But
Yes.
having a goal in mind and having the detailed plan is very important, like how you plan to achieve that. So
Okay.
and
Perfect.
and don't
Perfect.
get scared with the overall exam. I mean, even though after I came out also I was not sure that if I have done well. So that I think is true for any exam like of this stature. But as long as you give your best and you are confident that you have studied and this was the best you could do, I think everybody would be able to clear it. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful, Shilpa. This was a very great conversation because a lot of people are going to watch this video. They will get motivated to prepare for the exam. Also, coming and giving the exam after a huge work experience is not easy. To manage your family, manage job, and also study. So coming back to that mode of preparation is really
Yeah.
tough, and you've been able to manage it for both the levels and both the levels in first attempt. So that is really, really, really great. And I'm sure this interview will motivate a lot of students, will help their queries in preparation. And this, thank you very much for joining and giving your time. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.